I'll now ask the first question for this discussion. And my question is this: what are the key sources of information about Aurangzeb and how accurate are they? And I'll call on Neeraj Atri to respond.
Ji. Namaste to all of you, and I thank all of you for providing me this platform to talk about Aurangzeb. And that was quite a mouthful of introduction that Bharti ji gave about me. Thanks for that also. And just a disclaimer, I'm not a history teacher. I just keep on learning about history. And now coming to the point, what about the sources of Aurangzeb? Because fortunately or unfortunately, there is no fixed eligibility for anybody to write a book on any subject. As a result, we have a plethora of sources from which we can try to find out about Aurangzeb. But then the question arises, which one of these is going to give us a historical, factual explanation about Aurangzeb and which one is fictional? So we have to sift through it, and accordingly, I will try to give some sources which can be considered primary sources or nearly contemporaneous sources to understand about the historical Aurangzeb. One of the most popular books is Muntakhab-ul-Lubbab, which was written by Khafi Khan. And this book was written, some portion was written during the life of Aurangzeb and some after the demise of Aurangzeb. So it can be considered a contemporary source and by someone who saw Aurangzeb in flesh and blood. There is a rumor regarding this book that the name Khafi Khan is not an actual author, but this was written by someone in hiding, and the term that is used is Khufiya. Because it was a Khufiya biography, it was written secretly. That is why the author has titled himself as Khafi Khan. Although this is incorrect, because actually there was a person named Khafi Khan. And since he belonged to a place called Khaf in present-day Afghanistan, from there his name was Khafi Khan. Second source, which is even more authentic, is Masiri Alamgiri. Now, to understand what is Masiri Alamgiri, I'll try to give a brief introduction about this. Since the time of Akbar, the Mughals had developed a very sophisticated sort of system to collect information from the vast territory that they were controlling. Now, Akbar was controlling almost 80-85% of the undivided India. So it had a very large number of provinces. And to keep the central government updated, they had devised a mechanism. In every province or every headquarter, there were people nominated who were known as Vakia Navis. Vakia means something which happens, and Navis means someone who records it. So all the major happenings were recorded by this person. They were handwritten. And then every week, or if they deemed fit, every 3 or 4 days, they would collect all those anecdotes, all those things that they had written, roll the paper, put it in a bamboo bamboo pipe, which was known as nalo, and then that was dispatched from the provinces towards the central headquarters or central head office, which was most of the times it was Agra. There they were collected and they were compiled. These books were known as, at the time of Akbar, it was known as Akbarnama. It gives detailed history of the official commands given by Akbar. So the contemporary books were known as Namas. Similarly, we have a Jahangir Nama, and similarly we have a Padshah Nama for Shah Jahan. So an Alamgir Nama was also expected, and this Alamgir Nama was not compiled during the lifetime of Aurangzeb. Now what happened was, he appointed someone to start collecting the Alamgir Nama, as he used to call himself Alamgir. And for first 10 years of his reign, it was compiled. After that, it was discontinued because it was using up too many resources of the kingdom, of the rulers. That is why he decided to disband it. So it was disbanded. As a result, although we have namas for the ancestors of Aurangzeb, we don't have an Alamgir nama. And after his death, there was this favorite officer of his name was Inayatullah Khan. So he thought that since this monarch had ruled for such a long time and he had tried to rule according to the tenets of Islam, therefore we should have an Alamgir Nama. So he requested Mirza Muhammad Kazim, if I remember the name correctly. Yes, this was the name. And asked him to compile an Alamgir Nama, and that is what is known as Alamgir today. Oh, I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. It was written by Saki Mustad Khan. And it was requested by Inayatullah Khan, as I already told you. So this compilation was completed after demise of Aurangzeb, after 3 years of his demise in 1710, and this book is known as Masiri Alamgiri. So this is one of the most authentic documents. If you want to study Aurangzeb, this is the source where we should go to. Third source is a set of books written by Sir Jadunath Sarkar. It is on a history of Aurangzeb. It is in 5 volumes. And it is also based on primary documents. Therefore, it is also a very good source of information regarding Aurangzeb. Then fourth source is Ahkam-e Alamgiri. It was written by Hamiduddin Khan Bahadur. Now, Ahkam-e Alamgiri is not a very detailed explanation of his rule. It is something known as anecdotes of Aurangzeb. So, but again, since it is from primary sources, it is also a very good source of information regarding Aurangzeb. Then we have an 8 volumes set, which is known as History of India as told by its own historians, compiled by Eliot and Dawson during the colonial period. Out of these 8 volumes, the 6th, 7th, and 8th deals with Mughals. So that is also a good source for studying Aurangzeb. And then there is the 6-volume set of Cambridge History of India, out of which all 6 were not published. 4 were published, but they also contain some portions of Aurangzeb. But these 2 sources which I mentioned in last, History of India as told by its own historians and Cambridge History of India, are primarily taking up from Muntakhabul Labab, Masiri Alamgiri, and Ahkam-e Alamgiri. So even if we stick to the first 4, that is good enough for us. And apart from these, now these are the most reliable sources, which I would say, because since I changed from physics to history, that is what I found out, that when we are learning about history, we should focus on primary sources and the facts that they contain, not on secondary or tertiary sources, because they are tinged either by faulty translation or biased interpretations. So for example, when we talk about the books written by modern day historians like Audrey Trishke, they are in some part apologistic about Aurangzeb, and they can be termed in the category of hagiographies and not biographies or authentic history books as such. That is what I would say regarding the sources of getting information about Aurangzeb. Ji.